The first 100 days of President Tinubu'S administration have leave some praise and blame. Upon inauguration on May 29, 2023, President Tinubu vowed to revamp the economy with his renewed hope slogan. But the ripple effect of his economic policies have left Nigerians with a sweet and sour taste. And as a solution to Nigerians' social economic challenges 2 weeks back, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale Edun, during the inaugural meeting of the Federal Executive Council, unveiled Tinubu's 8 priority agenda, including food security, ending poverty, economic growth and job creation, access to capital, improving security, improving the playing field on which people and particular companies operate, rule of law, and fighting corruption, an economic plan with a 3-year target timeline. It is no news that President Tinubu assumed the leadership of Africa's most populous country at a time of great economic difficulties marked by very high social-political tension. With September 5th marking his 100 days in office, it is only right we take stock of his impact so far on the economy with policies and statements and even appointments. Has he done well, or is it a far cry from where we need to be as it concerns the economy? Well, these and more will take center stage on the big story for today as we critically look at the major aspect of the economy and how Nigerians and also Nigerian economy has been under his first 100 days in office. We're talking about the economy thus far, President Tinubu's 100 days in office. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. We're looking at President Tinubu's 100 days in office and looking at the economy thus far. That's what we're having as a major discourse today on the big story. And truly to help us talk about this, as usual, our economists always on point when it comes to the issue that concerns the economy. And we're talking of no other person but economist Gideon Oguns. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, sir. You're welcome. Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, anyway, it's only right to go straight to it. Nigerians' fifth president of the Fourth Republic with 100 days thus far being spent. Just like my introduction, it has been a bittersweet experience for many Nigerians. I just have to be frank. And but for me, I really want to know, under the 100 days of President Tinubu, I want your reaction thus far, Mr. Gideon.
Okay,
and as it concerns the economy, and not just only the economy, but others as also, because let's look at it basically and in broad base first, before we go deep down into the economy.
First 100 is quite a short time.
Well, to assess anyone. But it's also a directional statement.
However, are there things that have been done to give us some insight into where we might be at the end of this administration? The answers are yes.
Okay.
And that's why you created a new vocabulary this morning of bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet.
So there are so much of it that is bitter, but there are a few that are sweet. In fairness, in 100 days, he has been able to at least have a cabinet that will help him galvanize, postulate, and pursue the vision.
Drive,
2, he has been able to conceptualize what he wants to do in what you call the 8-point agenda. So giving us a blueprint to lay here in a few days or months' time, to be able to say, okay, you said this, where is he? You said that, where is he? Then, in taking some very draconic decisions, which in the short run are truly painful, but in the long run will be able to salvage us.
Okay, well, anyways, we'll come to that now, because I want us now to look at the economy, because that's the reason we're having this discussion, and look at how it has been thus far. And where I want us to start with is rather start with what he even started with in his inaugural speech and day, and that is the removal of fuel subsidy. Yes, I know the nation has literally flushed down over 21 trillion naira since 2005 to 2023 on paying for subsidy And it was no news that the subsidy even had to go, because all the three leading contendants during the last presidential election had made that move to see, well, definitely subsidy is going to go. But, they say but, I would want to say, how was the removal being under the administration of this government? I'm talking about the economy.
Yeah.
Did he do it well? How did it fare under his watch?
I think some time ago we looked at that, but just to bring it on point here.
Because that's a major statement and a direction of his economic blueprint.
Very, very erratic.
Erratic, you say?
Because at the day he pronounced subsidy is gone, the authority the authority to put in place the things that could cushion the impact of that decision were not yet in his hands. So this was now a reactionary thing. You have already said it is gone. And I think we were on the studio here, and by the time we went out, the price of fuel have gone up.
Immediately.
After it has gone up, he started thinking, what do I do to cushion the impact of what I have done? So that is like letting the cat ahead of the horse. So it's not. So to me, it would have been a better way. We all know that subsidy must go.
Yeah.
The need for it to go were glaring. But it would have been that as it's going, this will be the palliative.
Okay, so what would have been the nicer way of doing
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He would have given his speech, inaugural speech, and inform us that the subsidy will certainly go.
But not go.
Come back to the office and work it out.
On how it will go.
On how. But he just made a blunt statement. It's gone. And immediately Nigerians had, it's gone. You trust Nigerians. Prices moved, even though the stock was still the old one. So Nigerians were reaped. What they bought with subsidy, the filling stations started selling without subsidy. And who had the extra? So we began to pay for something that had been paid for. And no refund was given neither to government nor to the people. So that made life truly very bitter, if I borrow that your opening statement. So the way it was done, in my opinion, wasn't the best. He should have, we all know it will go. He would have been able to sit down first and be able to say, okay, as it goes, what are the impact, what are the effects, what will be on ground to mitigate this effect and cushion that effect, then a holistic thing will have come and Nigerians will have hated him.
Okay, now let's look at the impact thus far, especially with the removal, and how it has really been for Nigerians as it concerns the economy. Because we're all going to center these basically on the economy.
Basically, or fundamentally now, there are two benefits. One, the hard one and bitter, the other sweet. I begin with the sweet. With the removal, you don't hear of cabals anymore. Because that was a word in Nigeria that was so loud, but you can't find the individuals.
Funny enough, I even went to a primary school and they were talking of the presidential cabal. Well, anyway, don't make me mind. Don't mind me on that. Though.
Now, with the cabal gone, he had claimed, I mean the presidency, that for the past 2 months or thereabout, he had been able to save $1 trillion or more per month. In your intro, you have said how much have been flushed off Nigeria between 2005 to date. So somehow, if every month, truly speaking, he is recovering ₦1 trillion, and we are prudent with such a resource, then there is hope that in 10 months we will have 10 trillion naira.
But that's just hope.
We will have no. Well, he said he have 2.
Okay.
So we are just progressively saying, if that trajectory continues, then in 10 months we should have 10 trillion, which should be enough to do something meaningful that can actually address the issue of fuel. So on a good note,
a sweet note.
Sweet note, he's doing something about that. But on the other side, which is painful and bitter, the people, the citizenry, have not yet come to terms with the adjustment in these 100 days. Though a few persons where leadership is being driven, there are certain things being done.
Okay.
I mean a state like Lagos and all that.
Yeah.
But for other states where nobody is caring for anybody, the impact is still squarely being carried holistically by the citizenry. And so what is the impact of that? You have a higher inflation because the price of everything
has skyrocketed.
So that's the mixed bag.
Okay, now still talking about, I'm happy you brought inflation into it, because I want us to go there now, because we're looking at the economy holistically. And if you look at the inflation rate in March, it was put at 22.04%. And fast forward to July, which is the last we've gotten from the National Bureau of Statistics, it's now 24.08%. My question would just be simple and straightforward. Would there have been anything that he would have done? Yes, we do know that the first subsidy removal was the major driver of that inflationary rate, and no surprise, it came quickly soon. But would there have been anything that would have done to help deal with the issue of the inflation?
Again, the answer should be yes and no.
Okay.
Now, inflation primarily is driven by two things from the economic literature. A demand pool and a cost pool.
Okay.
So demand pool simply talks about the situation where the consumers are wanting more of that thing.
Okay.
So because they want more, but what is in the market is far less, then people will take advantage. Price will go up. The cost pool have to do with the cost of producing it have gone up. As a result, the person producing it have no choice but to add to the price.
To stay afloat.
To stay afloat. So if you check what we've just spoken about, you discover that the farmer, if I come to just food inflation, which is a major
driver of
you discover that for food inflation, you discover security have hindered it. Now, the cost of implements is now added. Now, transportation of those things added. So what is happening to production of food is that the cost of making food to be available in our markets have never been addressed. So what would he have done, which is your question? I believe that if in removing the subsidy, there was a plan of how to ensure that transportation does not go up at the rate it is going, then it is possible the drivers will not have increased their fares. And so the food person will have been able to take his produce to the farmer from the farm at a relatively cheaper rate and will not want to increase price. And other sister things that have to do outside of that particular person, if he's going to buy fuel to power his generator so that you have to be able to call contacts, it will have been cheaper. But here, everything is high. And the person must survive to stay afloat. So, in the short run, there is really no plan the government made to address the cost of food production. Now, on the part of the consumer, what many of the palliatives I have seen have done is that much money have been released to them. Now, if you have money but there is no product, or the product quantity have not increased, what will happen?
Inflation.
So you see that by their actions, they've not addressed the inflationary trend.
Hence it was high.
So it will still, even in this, the next one they will release will still be high.
Okay, well anyway, let's see, continue there. But in case you're joining us, it's Quest today, and we're looking at the 100 days in office of no other person but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But we're looking at the economy, which seems to take center stage in almost all discussions, looking at how Nigeria has fared under his watch in the first 100 days. And not just looking at the economic blueprint he has and would have put in place, but generally, how has it been for Nigerians, especially as they go through these very trying times? Has it been a positive impact with those policies, or are we yet to really gain from them? But then it's a question I'll be asking later. But let me quickly come back to you, economist Gideon Ogun. Another economic policy or statement is the Naira floating. That's another major one that took center stage under his first 100 days in office. Because I could still remember on June 14th of 2023, CBN instructed the banks to sell forex freely at market-determined rates. Consequently, Naira jumped to 900. Forgive me for laughing. Consequently, Naira jumped to 915 Naira per dollar at the parallel market. Now, how have that impacted on the economy? Has it heeded the gains of that policy, or have it been a huge mistake, as stated by some economists who feel that, well, they would never even have gone there in the first place? I just want your reaction to that. Naira floating.
Okay. Naira float is not a bad policy.
Not a bad one.
However, its takeoff also was bad. The sad thing about it is, at the point of the Naira float, there were huge dollar debts agreements, MTN just so, that were already pending. So when you float the rates, because these were deals that were done at 400 and something Naira to a dollar, now you float it and the thing jumps, you are going to require much Naira to be able to meet up those obligations. So it was hasty, and the impact of such things are what is making the Naira not find stability. So between June and September 11, you see that the Naira is still very volatile. It's still not stable because the pressure is unheard of. Now, again, if monies were coming, dollar was coming into Nigeria at the rate that we could have much more dollar, then we would have been able to say, okay, but what happens? Domestic accounts are not working at the rate they were working. The people that are outside Nigeria that used to remit dollar, they aren't there doing the right thing. Our export initiatives have not transformed.
Because that's where I was going to. Knowing that any need for you falling down your currency is more like more economy and more business for you. Because more persons will use less to buy things from you.
But you see that our export policies have not achieved anything. If I will, the only thing I can call a gain is it has blocked a class of Nigerians who will have want to do medical education, all their invisible trades outside Nigeria. Because right now, it takes a bigger chunk of Naira
to do so,
to be able to do so. Making some of such individuals to do whatever they can with Nigeria. So it's a little plus, but not sufficient to achieve. But
was it able to deal with the issue of those that would just buy the dollar and later sell at a high rate?
I'm coming there. Okay. So one of the positives is it has reduced our invisible trade that many of us would have wanted to.
Okay.
Now, on the gain of ensuring that those racketeering price speculators are no longer having a free day. Yeah, the policy achieved a little.
A little.
Because the BDCs, the Bureau of...
the Bureau de Change.
Yes, Bureau de Change had been brought back in a way that the only place before now, the only place you can get dollar was in the black market.
Of course.
But today...
And they determine the price?
Today is no longer so.
Okay.
You could get dollar if you go to a Bureau de Change, if you go to a bank. So with the reach of where to, the monopolistic tendency of the black marketers have gradually been reduced. I don't want to say crashed.
Shrink.
Okay, shrink. So that's the situation. So it's a positive on that. And if the other policies that the government started bringing last month begin to actually be here, you want to automate this issue of that dollar exchange and all that. If they actually, the CBN and the banks or money BDCs are able to work on that and have a platform where at a touch of a button, everybody knows what dollar is selling, then the black market will not be able to influence price anymore. So but that's a work in progress. So that policy have enabled this policy to come up. So give and take. Again, is a bag of sweet.
Agreed. But anyway, looking at it and all you've said, and looking at the policy that have been chunked out by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it's all centered at dealing with some persons, and persons that have driven the economy in a bad light. My question is this. For example, the first subsidy remover was to deal with the cabals. Now, this other floating naira policy was to deal with also those racketeers.
Price racketeers.
So my question is, if you really want to position the economy, why not go after them rather than go this or that direction?
Okay. Now, sorry to say this, particularly intelligence people, they do a lot because Nigeria is a very difficult place. However, gathering of information or information sharing is still a nag. It's still a clog on the wheel of progress. See, these people who are supposed to go about arresting are supposed to have facts. Because when you get to court, it's not presumption. You have to bring in the facts to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. And it's a tall order.
Because would it not have been better to deal with the corruption rather than deal with us?
Yes.
Well, it's a question. Because we are the ones feeling the heat on your inability to deal with those corrupt persons that are either the fuel cabals or the naira cabals.
The truth is this.
Or the dollar cabals.
Sir, if you have a human shield and I want to shoot you, to avoid a collateral damage, I may not fire my bullets. These particular individuals we are talking about, they have human shields that is making them to be the last person to be in your view. So it's so difficult to get to them, except you are able to infiltrate the ranks
and get more collateral damage.
And get more things so that you don't do a collateral damage.
Well, it's already collateral damage.
What these policies are trying to do is, if those who are the front line, the pawns in this game of chess, will be able to give in and give credible information. Can I drive to somewhere we've not actually gotten to? Look at the issue of crude oil theft.
Okay.
That is one area you discover that it was also a syndicate.
Yes.
Now you bring in certain individuals, you see the back and front. Why? Because somebody needs to be covered up. Until we Nigerians, we want to get out of covering up the people we call the mighty.
We go nowhere.
We may go, but it will be very slow.
Anyway, let's leave the pawns and not deal with the king and queen, but let's rather go on the break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at 100 days in office of this very administration. But be rest assured, we also would look at the 100 days in office of also that of Delta State administration, maybe on the later date. But for now, let's look at this and let's go on a break. We'll come back and have some more.